Good evening, I am Kindred.
And I'm Rachel Greening.
And tonight we will be reporting to you from New Fairfield High School.
Tonight we take you to Africa.
And we'll be talking to you about the Nigerian oil crisis.
Nigeria is the largest producer of oil in Africa and has been exporting oil since 1971. In 2011, Nigeria had produced 2.53 million barrels per day. Nigeria's oil industry produces around 95% of their export earnings and 40% of the Nigerian government's revenue. Nigerian oil industry is primarily located in the Nigerian Delta. Conflict with people wanting a share in oil wealth has also increased in the last couple of years. Oil theft and bunkering, which is stealing oil directly from a pipeline, have also increased and become a large problem for the Nigerian government. The Nigerian oil industry is blamed for not only the pollution in that area, but the air quality as well. Not only does Nigeria have the largest oil industry in Africa, but also the largest gas reserve also. Between the last 9 years, the U.S. has imported 9 to 11% of its oil from Nigeria. Nigeria has an estimated 37.2 billion barrels of oil at the end of 2011. Most oil reserves are found along the Nigerian Delta, offshore Bight of Benin, the Gulf of Guinea, and the Bight of Bani. The Nigerian government hopes to increase the proven oil reserves to 40 billion barrels within the next couple of years. There are increasing security problems with oil theft, pipeline privacy, and the privacy of the Gulf of Guinea. In 2011, the production of crude oil went up from 2.5 million barrels per day to 2.13 million barrels per day. It rose again in 2012 to 2.15 million barrels per day, and we are expecting a rise again in the upcoming 2013. The Nigerian oil industry is highly important to our American economy because of how much oil we import from Africa every day.
Now to some security concerns this poses. There's a group called MEND, which attacks oil infrastructure for political reasons, but there are also others who seek wealth from these endeavors. First, there is bunkering, which is the stealing of oil from pipes. They can either take oil from wellheads, fill tankers at export terminals, or puncture pipes in swamps and fill their own tanks with the leaking oil, but that will contribute to environmental issues. There's also kidnapping, in which oil workers are kidnapped and held for ransom, and has caused oil companies to recently pull out of the area. There are also militant takeovers of oil facilities, in which the crews there are generally endangered. Lastly, there's piracy in the Gulf of Guinea. Pirates attack oil tankers from Nigeria. They transfer the oil to their own tankers, from which they can either send to their own facilities to be enriched, or they can sell the oil for profit.
And now we're going to our senior war correspondent, Ben, in the capital of Mali, Bamako,
who will be talking about the Islamist takeover of northern Mali.
Mali, a country of arid plains and rolling savannas, associated as much with its natural beauty as with the turmoil that has engulfed it. Once a French colony, Mali gained its independence in 1960 and became the French-speaking Republic of Mali. It was quick to choose a democratic government. However, this would change. In March of 2012, soldiers overthrew the current president Amadou Toumani Touré. This was on the heels of a military coup earlier in the year which was based in the north. With the president gone, a group of Islamist radicals moved into the country, pushing out the rebels who were living in the northern plains. This raised international concerns that Mali could become a terrorist training ground, which prompted France, who still maintains a strong presence in the area, to take military action. A series of coordinated airstrikes were carried out in hopes of rooting out any radicals or rebels who were hiding in the plains. However, this was not effective, and the French army prepared for a ground invasion. Not long after this plan was announced, more than a dozen hostages were taken at an internationally managed oil field in Algeria. The terrorist cell that took responsibility claimed the attack was in retaliation to France's possible military invasion. The French promptly ceased its efforts. However, Islamic extremists were still able to train in Mali, since the Malian army was crippled and unable to protect the entire country. This issue has not left the local population unscathed. More than 90,000 refugees who lived in the contested area have fled to neighboring Mauritania to escape the brutality of the Islamist radicals. The extremists have attempted to impose their Sharia law on the remaining Malian people. This allows them to commit serious human rights offenses as punishment for breaking their laws. Some of these ramifications include public stonings, hangings, and mutilations. The situation in the south is not much better. In a lawless Bamako, there is chaos. Journalists and anyone who opposes the military rule are abducted and beaten or killed by night. The populace is in a general state of poverty. It is a dangerous place to be. The issue in Mali has not gone unnoticed, gaining international support. Along with the French forces, 3,300 troops have been sent from nearby African countries such as Ghana, Nigeria, Niger, and Senegal. Superpowers like England and the US have also shown support for the French and African soldiers in Mali, although they have not gotten militarily involved. It is obvious that the crisis is not going to be over soon, and that the outcome will mark a new chapter in the story of this nation. This is Ben Weiss in Bamako, Mali, reporting.
Now back in the studio with me is Ben, back from Bamako, Mali.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So please, tell us about your trip.
Well, for starters, it's rather interesting that this crisis is occurring in Mali of all countries, because it has often been used as a model for other African democracies. The rebellion and the Islamist invasion has been a huge surprise for the international community.
Well, how long do you think it'll take before the French retake control of Mali and rid the country of terrorists?
Understand that both the rebels and the Islamists are fighting the French forces. They are very deeply embedded in the North Malian plains, so they're hard for the French to root out. This process could take several months to a year to complete. The French would also have to help the Malian government reform after such a disaster, and this could take even more time.
Well, tell us what you've seen in Mali while you were over there.
Like I said before, the radicals are hiding out among the northern plains. A lot of scattered skirmishes have occurred throughout the area. Islamist and rebel forces are fighting the French with whatever supplies they can scavenge and are having some success in taking small border towns. The poverty in Mali has been amplified during the crisis, and it's painful to see the civilians in such a state. The Sharia law the radicals are attempting to impose on the people is taking its toll as well. I witnessed a young couple buried up to their necks and nearly stoned to death by a group of terrorists in one of the border towns. The townspeople stood by while the Islamists did their work, too afraid to do anything. It's an image I will not forget.
Oh, okay. Well, how do the Islamists factor into the crisis occurring in Bamako, Mali?
The Islamists, namely the North African branch of Al-Qaeda, saw an opportunity to produce a safe haven for terrorists during the revolution in Mali. The country did not have a leader, its army was crippled, and the north was ripe for the taking. The radicals pushed out the rebels who were in the area and established their domain. Obviously, this is unacceptable for the Western world, and we cannot have a place where Islamist radicals are trained to commit acts of terror.
There have been reports of journalists, like yourself, being attacked and killed while in Mali. Do you have anything to say about that predicament?
To be frank, Mali is not a safe place for any person to be, whether foreign or native.
Well, at any time, were you concerned for the safety of that and your teams?
Well, at times we were in potentially dangerous situations. The French military took care of us and kept us safe from harm.
Well, thank you so much for being here and bringing back such a detailed report back from Mali. So thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching this newscast, and we hope you were educated in the challenges of Western Africa.
Coming to you from New Fairfield, Connecticut, I'm Rachel Greening.
And I'm Pat Kindred.
And have a good night. Nigeria's oil industry has produced around 95% of their exports earnings in the 40% of the Can we start over? Oil theft and bunkering is a really large concern in Nigeria. Bunkering is also small cargo canoes that Most oil reserves are found along the Nigerian Delta, offshore the Bight of Benin, the Gulf of Guinea, but it has the largest natural gas reserve in Africa also. Between the last 9 years, the U.S. has imported 9 to 11% of their oil from along the Nigerian Delta, offshore in the Bight of Benin, and the Gulf of Guinea, and the Bight of The largest producer of oil in Africa is Nigeria, and has been exporting oil since The Nigerian government hopes to increase the proven oil reserves to 40 billion barrels per day within the next couple of years. Oh my God, it's not pretty.
Thanks, guys. What the hell happened to the green screen?
That's not on the script.
You moved it and the entire green screen broke. Thanks, guys. I'm in Bamako, which is the capital of Mali, where in March of 2012, mutinous soldiers...
Slow down.
Slow. What the hell? Ah, what happened? I'll move back. The background went away. It needs the light. It's recording. It's
Now
looking
we
at the
go to
pipe. No, it's recording and it's looking at the pipes. I don't know. I started it like that.
Hold on, can I practice for a
That's
second?
that's a freaking blooper. Okay.
Okay.
Ready? Begin.
Now I'm back in the studio with Ben, who's back from Mali.
I thought you were gonna say something else. Crap! You almost pushed me out of the stool.
Now we're back in the studio. With me is Ben, back from
With
the
you is Ben? No, we can just edit it out. We can just.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Rachel.
Okay. Now back in the studio with me is Ben from
You just said it again.
Back in the studio
with me as Ben. You said me as
I
Ben.
did not. Okay. Now back in the studio with me is Ben. Back from
Oh, you said is.
Why did you interrupt me if you know what I said? Okay. How long do you think it'll take for the French to take?
You screw me? Again? The first time?
First time. Stop it.
This crisis is occurring in Mali of all countries because it's often used as a model for other African democracies. This invasion and it's been
How do you think? How do the Islam? Okay.
Okay.
Hold on.
Let's make sure the camera isn't shut off. So how long have we been recording this?
For like 3 hours.
4 minutes.
Thank you so much for being here and bringing back such a detailed report back from Mali. So thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. You did it! Like only the 400 club.
Thank you for watching this newscast, and we hope you were educated in the conflicts of Western Africa.
I'm sorry.
That was perfect!
that was flawless, and then Rachel.
I'm sorry.
Alright, we'll do it again. We started. Okay.
First, there's bunkering, which is the stealing of oil from pipes. They can either take the oil from wellheads. Ben, that's great.
Yeah.
Not just some
Nope. No.
There are also others who seek wealth from these
Endeavors.
Who seek wealth from these endeavors.
What are we doing?
Let's go.